It's 5 o'clock, welcome to everyone to this meeting. We'll move on to apologies for absence.
We've got apologies from Councillor Minor, Councillor Reynolds and Councillor Wrekin.
Thank you. Declarations of interest, please. None. The minutes of the meeting held on the 31st of May. Those agreed?
Yeah.
We'll proceed to sign them. So item 4 then is the financial management report for 2018-2019. Councillor Lee Carter.
Thank you, Leader. The report in front of you this evening shows that our projected outturn is to be within budget for this financial year, despite having to make further 7.6 million of savings in the financial year, which will take our total savings that we've had to achieve to date of £117 million. There are two significant cost pressures that are highlighted in the report. First of all, children's safeguarding continues to be a pressure on our budget, mainly because of the cost of care, but also the cost of employing social workers, which is a national crisis in terms of recruitment of social workers. It also stems down to the fact that it's anticipated that there's a 1.9 billion national shortfall between the need in terms of our children's safeguarding and the resources being made available by government. In terms of that social worker crisis, there's currently 11% vacancy rate across the sector, the public sector, in terms of social workers. The second pressure noted is around education and corporate parenting, where there's a cost pressure in terms of a high needs block. Again, this arises from a national issue, which is basically the government's refusal to increase funding for the provision of education for children with complex needs in line with demand. Across London councils alone, this cost pressure is estimated to be £100 million. We're obviously feeding into the LJ and working with other councils to lobby on this issue, and we'll do as much as we can to argue for a fairer source of funding. Outside of this, it's otherwise a very, very good scenario, albeit in those difficult circumstances. But I think it's important for everyone to remember, particularly the public, to understand how this is achieved. Not just through officer diligence and tight financial discipline, which is outstanding and has been outstanding now for well over a decade, but also because of the other things that this council has undertaken and this administration has undertaken. Commercial activity, which currently generates £20 million for the council. Schemes like New Place, that we'll hear about later as part of the Housing Investment Portfolio report, the solar farm, the growth deal. Most of those things have been argued against, and we've had to fight very hard as a administration to put those into place and make sure they operate efficiently, and we've done that. We've got up there, we've got out there, and we've done that, and I'm immensely proud of that. I'm immensely proud that we will continue to do that. I'd like to move the recommendations in the report 2.1, 1, 2 and 3.
Is that seconded, please?
Second.
Thank you, Richard. Any comments from the opposition?
No, I think the answer in the report is very good. It's a testament to the work that's being done by the officers to come back close, as it were, to the end of the financial year. I think is quite an achievement. I recognise the pressures that the council are under, and as you say, one or two of the issues and items are dealt with later on.
Thank you.
But they're interesting times, I suppose. And I'll come back to the point, really, when officers would sit and wring their hands if they had to make £1 million worth of savings back in the old days. So there was quite a lot of money swirling around, and it just makes you wonder what we could have done had we been doing this a lot earlier. We could have built utopia here in Telford with that sort of money, year in and year out. It really does make me wonder.
Thank you. So any comments or questions from current members? I just want to say, I think that, as Lee said, this isn't just about the fantastic work of our officers, which of course is a testament to this council, but also the real choices that we are making as an administration. New Place, the Growth Fund, the solar farm, all opposed by opposition councillors, which would, if we didn't do, would reduce the revenue to this council, which would result in further cuts. I know that we have a Secretary of State called Brokenshire now, but isn't it the case that despite what some people say in this room, that local government can take cuts and should take cuts, that actually we have got to a position where now councils up and down the country are going bust. Like Northamptonshire, who had a fantastic council office, only opened 3 years previously. And I was with a group of disabled residents today in Telford Wrekin with Paul, And actually the impacts of cuts, not just council cuts, but cuts to welfare, cuts to NHS funding, is really starting to bite now. And unfortunately, we're not all as lucky as others who are immune to the cuts. There are people out there really suffering as a result of this austerity. It has been moved, it has been seconded. So all those in favour, please. That's everybody, thank you. We'll then now move on to item 5, which is the Housing Investment Programme. I think, Richard, you're taking us through this one.
Thanks, Sean. This report provides an update on New Place, the Council's wholly owned housing company, and outlines a proposal for the next phase of development, which will see New Place deliver a range of supported and specialist accommodation to enable people to live independently, at home, for longer, and promoting intergenerational communities. For members' information, next month the New Place portfolio will reach 290 homes, with a further 39 due to be completed by the end of 1819. Through the third phase of developments referenced in the report, the portfolio will reach circa 420 homes by 2020. The New Place brand continues to attract strong interest, with all properties at the new Snedzel site reserved within 1 month or prior to building works commencing on site. I always said St George's was a great place to live. But this is typical of the brand strength of New Place. We hear it from tenants of New Place. They like the idea of the council providing houses to rent, brand new homes with the security of tenure that we know is not common in the private rented sector. It's a strong brand and a successful brand, with voids across the portfolio running at less than 2%. New Place is raising the standard of the private rented sector in Telford, something this administration has been keen to do with our Better Homes report a few cabinet meetings ago and our announcement on rogue landlords. On top of raising the standards of the rented sector in our town and giving security of tenure, New Place generates valuable income to the council from a variety of sources, including services supplied and interest on debt finance. Since 1516, New Place has generated a cumulative net incremental income of over £2 million. The council will additionally benefit from council tax and new homes bonus as appropriate on the housing stock delivered. This is estimated to have generated an additional 369,000 since 1617, which will rise to 756,000. Cumulatively, since 2015-16, New Place Limited is forecast to have delivered a profit before interest and taxation of £1.5 million. Alone, New Place achieved a forecast profit of over £1 million in 2017-18 before interest and taxation. The programme has resulted in over 20 acres of brownfield land being regenerated, addressing sites that might otherwise blight local communities. The report also highlights the investment our contractor Lovell are making into local communities in addition to local employment and apprenticeships. This report is another good news story for our town from this administration in raising the standards of the private rented sector, a good news story for residents in giving security of tenure and quality homes, and good news for the council in supporting the financial council services that we continue to deliver despite massive cuts by central government. I move recommendations 2.1 to 2.3.
Thank you, Richard. Is that seconded?
Yep.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from yourself, Andrew?
Yes, there are a few comments and questions I'd like to raise around this. First of all, I'd like to quote from the report itself. It's not something out of Yes Minister. Even Richard struggled trying to get his tongue around some of the words. I'll quote this. Since 2015-16, New Place has generated a cumulative net incremental income of 2.071 million. In 17-18 alone, incremental income generated was 1.238 million. Cumulatively, since 2015-16, New Place Limited is forecast to have delivered a profit before interest and taxation of 1.5 million and 683k after interest but before taxation. In 17-18 alone, New Place achieved a forecast profit of 1.202 million before interest and taxation.
Yeah.
And 343 so on and so
Further
forth.
report, Andrew.
I think perhaps a bit of plain speaking around this would be quite handy, because I think the bottom line on that, profits, was somewhere around about 261k, which is sort of lost in the mixer. Now, we've in the past made some comments about New Place, and
You're going to set it off.
You're
You're going to set it off. That's what your comments were.
Yes.
I'm going to say,
You were going to set it off. That's what your comments were.
was I? Oh, right.
That's what you said previously.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it certainly has brought income to the council, even though, you've invested 35 million plus 7 million for Sned's Hill, and what is a small return on the house. Well, let me finish first, if you don't mind. But it also, of course, has brought in a considerable amount of council tax, which will continue anyway,
Yes.
and new homes bonus
Yes.
for at least 4 years or so. After that, who knows? I mean, it may well be a different ball game. What it has also done is developed hard to develop
Yes.
sites, brownfield sites. And, certainly, our policies and our beliefs around development on greenfield sites versus brownfield sites, we've certainly welcomed that. And I think that's...
What's your
positive.
question? What's your question, Andrew?
Well, I'm just making general comments, but there is something that, I mean, we will take a view on.
Well, you've taken a view on it. You want to set it off?
After May, but there is one criticism I do have, and that is on affordable housing. While we're expecting developers to do 30% affordable housing plus on some of the sites, although we then give away when they come back and say it's not possible. My understanding in new place is somewhere between 12 and 13%. Now, if that's right, really it should be up to this council to be leading the way on affordable housing and acting as an exemplar to other developers. Because how can we expect developers to come up with reasonable amounts of affordable houses if this council isn't doing it itself?
Thank you. Richard, would you speak up about affordable housing?
Well, as Andrew knows, we have done affordable housing in Newport. It's one of our sites, and also we're working with a social landlord for a future site as well to try and increase the number of affordable homes and rent in the sector. And yes, of course, you know, we will do our best to get affordable homes in this town, but what we are doing, as you've just rightly said, is developing brownfield sites that no one will want to develop, also getting valued income into this council despite the cuts that we've had from government to maintain the services, and we will do what we can to get affordable homes. And the people, as I've said in this report, and there's quotes in there, people are wanting to move to New Place because they see it as a secure landlord, and they value the fact they've got a brand new house, security of tenure, and a New Place is lifting the standards in the private rented sector in this town, and that's what we've always aimed to do. And I'm sure if you went and spoke to a few people of those properties, they'd be worried about a Conservative administration that threatens to sell their properties from underneath.
Stepped away from that.
Oh, so you do? Well,
Now I said we take a view.
well, I think you asked for plain speaking. Plain speaking is clear from when you speak to residents. They trust the landlord is Telford Wrekin Council, but the reality is, in your alternative budget, you're going to sell off New Place at a loss. So if you're a New Place, Andrew, you've had your contribution. If you are a New Place tenant in this town under a Conservative administration, your house with New Place is at risk. And when you speak, I've read the alternative budget. It's very clear in there. So you've U-turned. You've U-turned. Arnold, Andrew. Andrew, at the last meeting when you weren't here, your deputy did a fantastic job in deputising for you, and he shows you the way in which to conduct yourself, which is to listen to one another. You have an opportunity to speak. You do your speaking, and then you listen to other people. You're here as an invitation. I said to you before, if you can't come and listen and be respectful to other cabinet members without interruption, then please send your deputy again. Arnold.
Yes, can I welcome the report, Leader? I think it shows the vision that this authority has had, both members and officers, in coming up with that whole scheme, providing good housing, and there's some comments in there, you know, it felt like home the first day I moved in, that sort of thing, right? But also some other comments in there about when you announce that you're going to build X, yeah, it's almost taken up before, well, it is taken up before they're built. That's how the public, I think, value that job, and I think we can be self-congratulatory. We can tell ourselves how good we are. Because we've done a great job. So much so that I believe Shropshire Council has been talking about how they can copy it, because it's an excellent scheme, and I think we should just, you know, give credit to the people that made it happen, officers and members, and just get on with it. Thank you.
Paul?
Yeah, I just want to welcome the report. It's really good to see a stable landlord in Telford and Wrekin who tenants are pleased to come and join, and as we've said, people are joining off plan. What I'd say to Andrew is he needs to have a word with his two MPs in Telford and Wrekin and see what they can do to help us with building affordable homes in this town, because they're the people with the real power in terms of changing government policy, so that we would be able to build more affordable homes and keep them in Telford and Wrekin. The difficulty is we can't do that. So shake your head, Andrew, if you want to, but speak to your MPs.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I also speak to Conservative council leaders up and down the country. They talk about the same issues about affordability and viability. And as I've often said, we don't live in a microcosm in Telford and Wrekin, despite how some people want to create it. The issues that are being shared are with local government leaders right across the country. And New Homes Bonus and the assumption for New Homes Bonus has been in the new plan, new place business plan, right from the beginning, right from the start, from day one. And the reality is that those houses would not be built under a Conservative administration who are U-turning now in order to fill the electorate in May, and we will not allow that to happen.
Well said.
That's been moved and seconded. All those in favour? That's everybody. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, then moving on to item 6, which is the Telford land deal.
Thank you, Leader. The report in front of you is for us to note at 2.1, and it just sets out an overview of what's been achieved in terms of the land deal. A 10-year land deal, unique by way of the fact that it's the first and possibly only one in the UK, I believe, of this nature, and it was started in March 2016. Since the deal was established then, there have been land sales of 25 million. That's enabled the delivery of 614 new homes and over 950 new jobs. Over the past 12 months through the deal, gross land sales of 17.9 million have been secured, enabling the delivery of 359 new homes and 553 new jobs. The report and the attachment that goes with it sets out one or two excellent examples of how this has manifested itself. Firstly, in terms of Magna International and their new plant at T54, that alone will deliver 600 jobs over 2 phases. And close by is Polytech's new manufacturing plant at T54, which will deliver 243 new jobs. That investment in Magna alone is one of the biggest inward foreign direct investments in the country, largest overseas investment in the last 10 years. Other examples are the new startup units, incubation units for startup companies that we've been able to fund through the profit share that's been achieved through this deal. That profit share so far has delivered £3.1 million, and those new incubation units will be the first ones that have been built of their kind and type for over 2 decades in the borough and built to demand. It also talks about the next 12 months looking forward, where the land deal will support the delivery of Nye Park in Newport, which is the borough's new flagship agri-tech innovation park. It's important to stress with the land deal that alongside it has been, what's been instrumental to its success has been the growth deal. And again, we'll bring a report on that in the future, but the growth deal, local growth deal, the Labour administration's growth deal, where we use 50 million to support this land deal, but also other economic development activity. And again, that's creating new jobs, new homes for our residents, and also helping fund frontline services through the income that generates. I'd just like to move the recommendation if I could.
Seconded.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Anything on this one? Please brief, please.
Just a quick one. I didn't see any mention of Eric Carter or Paul Spoon.
Okay.
Of course, when this whole thing was started, by my good colleague, as you well know.
Right. Yes, Lee?
On that comment, I guess this would happen because obviously the member is quite good at trying to tell people. Let's be clear, the deal was signed in March 2016, and I know there's no words of support for this either. You can't cherry pick things. The Conservatives have got to realise that. And whilst you might support the land deal, the truth is that you've been against the growth deal, which is instrumental and absolutely underpins this land deal. You've been against building of houses, which is what's been delivered here. You've been against Pride, which has funded some of the infrastructure improvements, which again have been instrumental to the success of this deal. You've been against pretty much everything that we've done. You cannot cherry pick things. I'd also note that your alternative budgets have also on regular occasions hinted at the fact that you would outsource a lot of our departments. The key to the success of this has been that we've retained and been able to fund the staff that have delivered this, the officers that have been brilliant in the way that they've delivered this, whether that's the architects, the engineers, the planners, have been fantastic. So I don't know where you're going with Councillor Eric Carter is taking the credit for this, but you cannot cherry pick these things. You have to support the plan if you support the land deal.
Thank you. Any other quick comments? Thank you very much. Thank you. That's been moved and seconded. All those in favour? That's everybody. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, then we move on then to item 7, which is the response to the Future Fit Hospital reconfiguration. Arnold, can you take us through this one, please?
Yes. Just bore you again with history. As you know, this council, local people, were responsible for campaigning to get a DGH, District General Hospital, for Telford. The arguments that were used were growth, families. I don't think we used the word social deprivation then, but it was the development of a new town required, and we won that, made that argument, won the case, and got our hospital. Therefore, it is our job, our role, to protect that hospital, protect those services. That's what we're elected to do, to represent the needs of people. And there's a lot of information, and you know, Liz will deal with the technical stuff. But the main point is that there are two options on the table, like them or not. There are two options on the table, right? You can have a big debate about NHS funding and all the rest. The options that are on the table are 1 and 2. Develop Shrewsbury or develop Telford and protect the women and children's unit. Therefore, this local authority, we members, and Andrew just had a quick word with me before the meeting about coming together at council on this, and I think we need to talk to each other, because there is cross-party support to protect the services for the people of Telford. And the very fact that Telford is, and I've read words recently, the government recognises as one of the growth points in industry. Therefore, industry is people. People are jobs, people, housing, need. Yeah, that's got to be taken into account. We've got to fight for Future Fit option 2, because that represents the needs of our residents. And I mean, you've seen the figures. The women and children's unit, the vast majority of people who are women who have their birth live in the east of the area. Even quite an interesting note I read in the report, that because it's not just Telford and Wrekin, it's the east of the county. There are an awful lot of a growing, ageing population in the east of the county that would be reliant on the DGH at Telford. Therefore, all the arguments stack up in our favour for option 2. It's a shame that we have to have this supposed, clash of need across the county, but we are elected to represent our people, and that is what we'll do. And I fully recommend the report and the recommendation.
Thank
Liz,
you, Arnold.
over to Liz for the...
Thank you, Arnold. Is that seconded first?
Second it.
Yeah. Liz, anything you want to expand upon at this point? No, thank you. Andrew, anything from you, just briefly?
Yeah, I gather we've both put motions in concerning the hospital, which to me seems to point in the direction we should all be singing from the same hymn sheet. We all want to see the same ends, and we all want to protect the PRH, as we've done in the past together. In fact, I think my earliest recollection was sharing a platform with Phil Homer, who was then the Labour leader. He and I did it literally between us in many respects. So if we can agree some wording around that, and I'm sure we can, or we should be able to, that it would be good for the whole council to go forward with the joint motion.
Yeah, I haven't seen in full the alternative motion.
So
So
we will
thank you.
talk about it.
We'll talk about it, absolutely. I think, as Arnold says, it is a great shame that this consultation is dividing communities in the county. In the same way that Brexit is dividing the country, and the solutions to Brexit are dividing the country, this Future Fit consultation is dividing the county. And actually, I think that it's called Future Fit, but it's neither future proof or future fit. The reality is, I welcome that the government have now lifted their cap on Commonwealth doctors coming to this country after 7 years of blocking doctors coming to this country to work. They've removed that block, and I think we should congratulate the government for that. We've seen training places for doctors being cut in 2010, and now we're seeing the products of not having enough consultants in our hospital system. Nurses, recruitment in crisis. We've got a situation where nurses' grants have been abolished, and we've now got nurses' loans, and applications to become a nurse is at an all-time low. So, we've got a situation where the money going into the NHS by this government is stagnating. It does not keep up with NHS demand. Even the money that this Prime Minister has announced recently has been described as a drop in the ocean. So we have got a perfect storm here. However, as Arnold said, as Telford Wrekin councillors of all parties, we stand together in saying that our PRH needs a fully functioning 24-hour a day, 7-day a week A&E, and the consultant-led Women's and Children's Unit. And that isn't to say that we don't want Shrewsbury to have an A&E. Of course, it isn't. But unfortunately, those two options are quite clear. And I do hope that the new Secretary of State for Health gets the grip with this system, because what you're going to have is a Women's and Children's Unit in Shrewsbury, which will see over the next decade a massive increase in their older population. At the same time as you have a planned care centre in Telford, which will see a massive increase in their young population. And that just can't make sense for anybody. And I do hope that this government do take some time now to review their damaging cuts to NHS and their damaging cuts to adult social care. I do hope that we can send one voice to government, that, you know, once this consultation's over, it may very well come to a Secretary of State referral. I hope that we can stay united on that, and the Conservative Secretary of State makes the right decision. Jeremy Hunt said that there should be 2 A&Es in Shropshire. Where's that gone? And where's he gone? He's flying around the world now. Right, so that's been proposed and seconded. All those in favour? So everybody, thank you very much. Thank you, Liz. We then move on to item 8, the library service strategy, which is Ray Evans.
Following substantial government cuts to local authority funding in 2016, the library service faced significant and difficult decisions about the nature and size of the service in the future. However, I'm delighted to say that our strategy of building strong and mutually beneficial partnerships has resulted in 4 of our libraries being saved and run by community-led libraries by our town and parish councils and 1 school academy. These libraries remain a key part of the council's statutory offer and complement the 5 remaining core libraries that are run and managed by the council, with the result that all our libraries remain open. This library strategy sets out a clear and ambitious vision of the future of our library services in the borough and ensures that they remain relevant to the needs of our residents. We've set out 7 key priorities for the library service, supported by a detailed action plan through to 2020, which is included in the appendix to the strategy. Cabinet, this strategy will develop our libraries as a cultural and leisure destination where the public can learn, discover and be entertained. The libraries will play a key role in this year's ongoing celebrations for Telford at 50, and the Council have committed to funding the reopening of Southwater 1 on a Sunday, so that in addition to it being viewed as a key leisure destination throughout the week, it can add to the vibrancy of Southwater Square at the weekends. We will promote both our core and library-led library spaces as community focal points that are pleasant, accessible to all, and importantly, free of judgment. Our grassroots community groups will be encouraged to use the library spaces as places to meet. By providing materials, activities and spaces that support positive health and well-being, it will also help the council's drive to combat social isolation, working with vulnerable residents and offering books on prescriptions through our GPs. We will increase the number of people borrowing books and materials regardless of the format, and this will include our new e-book and e-audio services which were launched last month. Increasing digital inclusion across the borough by developing ICT skills of our residents and ensuring access to new technology through our libraries remains a priority. To this end, we will lead the way in improving our residents' digital lives, with staff continuing to be digital champions, helping people to improve and learn how they can interact with services online, including the council services. To help us fund this, we will increase our income through successful bids, book sales and commercial opportunities. And to ensure that our library services are successful and efficient, we will use targets to increase footfall, book issues and activities. Can I thank Lee Higgins and Andrew Woodall for developing the strategy which takes in many of the Council's other priorities and upholds so many of our values.
Thank you, Ray. Is that seconded?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Any comments or questions, Andrew?
No.
Any comments or questions? Arnold?
If you don't mind, because a few years ago when I had the leisure community brief, that was when we started looking at configuration of libraries, and I just want to sort of blow our trumpet at Sturchley and Brookside. There's an excellent example in my mind of a library that was so expensive to run it really should have closed, right? And then the parish council got involved, moved in to the library space, and then that then turned into a community hub, which is mentioned in this report, you know, culture and community, and that's what the way it's evolved over the last 7 or 8 years is really magnificent. Yes. And you know, you give credit in the report to parish and town councils. I think we really need to give credit to parish and town councils that have come on board, saved the library at Sturchley, turned it into a vibrant community centre. And the one other point I would make is the IT stuff that's available for people to go in, usually with a bit of support from the parish council or whoever, if they're trying to access information or fill in forms for this, that and the other. Right? It's much more than that library where it was shush. Right? There's kids playing, there's people on computers, and there's volunteers. I think that's a real success story, and it's not just Sturchley, the others as well.
Paul?
Yeah, I welcome this strategy as well. It's great to see libraries are hubs for our communities, and that's very clear, and Sturchley is a good example of that. I, of course, would be remiss not to mention Madeley and what's going to happen in Madeley, where we're going to keep the library in Madeley Town Centre because it's going to go into the Anstice Hall, which is would have been a boarded up building if it hadn't been for Telford Pride, would have been a boarded up building if it hadn't been for the local community coming together and asking Madeley Town Council to do something with that building. It is going to be the centre of that community, and it's going to be a place where the library will thrive in the future in partnership with the local community. And I have to say that the IT issues in this report are so important for the future. We know that universal credit will only be able to be claimed on IT, and we know that there's going to be a large number of people who haven't got the resources to do that, who would miss out if it wasn't for our library services, and that's why it's so important that the IT is right in these new venues. So I welcome the report, and libraries aren't just about books; they're about people, and they're about people surviving in our society. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. And I think, Ray, you're right. We haven't closed a single library, but actually over the last few years, we've actually increased the number of libraries we've got with Southport 1. And I go there with my family, and it's absolutely fantastic. I'm really looking forward to it. It was a personal thing of mine to get that library open on a Sunday, because when you go there on a Saturday, the amount of children that you've got in there learning, informing themselves is just really, really inspiring. So I look forward to that opening on a Sunday as well. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favour? That's everybody. Thank you very much. Moving on then to item 9, which is driving delivery of the council priorities, the end of year performance 17-18. Ray, you want to take us through this?
John Sitton. Indeed. Many thanks to John Power for providing or drawing this report together. Cabinet, I'll provide you with an overview of its contents. So it is an overview of the progress made against the Council's community-facing priorities and builds on the in-year performance report which was provided to Cabinet in February. Whilst the focus of the report is the work of the Council, reflecting something that Arnold said earlier, it's important to highlight that these priorities cannot and will not be delivered without partnership working, not only with our public sector partners, health and police, but also with our very much valued community and voluntary sector groups. Equally, not everything around these priorities is within our control, and external factors can and will influence what we can and can't achieve. For example, the national debate over sugar tax has a potential impact on our obesity challenges amongst our young people, and of course the uncertainty that what Brexit will look like and the impact that this may have on our future investment are all outside our control. What this report does show is that despite these challenges and having made more than £110 million worth in cuts, this council continues to make real positive differences against our priorities. As a business supporting, business winning council, we are recognised as one of the fastest growing authorities in the West Midlands. Described by the Department of International Trade as the beating heart of foreign direct investment, securing investments such as that as Magna Castings and creating hundreds of jobs. We're also fastest growing town in England, number 1 for housing growth in 2018. However, our approach is about managed growth, not growth at any cost. Our local plan is in place, and through our Green Guarantee, which now includes 200 sites across the borough, we work to protect the local spaces that mean so much to our communities. Ensuring that all young people, whatever their backgrounds, can access a good or outstanding school is critical to improving local people's prospects through education, skills and training. Our primary school performance is excellent on this, and we need to continue to improve the number of secondary schools in this category. Attainment by pupils is now better or in line with national averages. But again, we need to ensure that all groups fulfil their full potential, particularly care leavers, children in receipt of pupil premium, and Pakistani pupils. Demand pressures for children's safeguarding and adult social care has seen the council invest to protect these services to ensure that we can protect and support our most vulnerable children and adults. For adults, we have seen our focus on developing community-based support strengthen as the number of people who enter into care homes continues to fall. A key challenge is to ensure that our re-enablement services continue to improve and to increase the number of people who use direct payments. For children, a major focus is to ensure that the right help is available at the right time. Through this approach, we have seen the number of children on care plans reduce, but most importantly, referral rates have not increased, meaning that decision making and management of these cases is robust. For our priority of ensuring that local people have access to suitable housing, homelessness is a key demand pressure. Whilst performance around supporting households presenting as homeless has improved, a significant challenge is being able to move more complex cases on, the issue being a lack of suitable accommodation. The Council continues to work successfully to drive improvement and ensure good quality housing in the private rental market through New Place and the Landlord Accreditation Scheme, and we're targeting rogue landlords to directly tackle substandard properties. Using the Council's existing powers of enforcement is a key focus in ensuring that neighbourhoods are clean, safe and well maintained. Using these powers, we have targeted illegal scrap metal dealers and prosecuted fly tippers in high-profile cases. And as a direct result of this action, we have seen a 15% drop in environmental crime. Tackling excessive weight in children is a key challenge to improve the health of the borough's population. We work to encourage people, whatever their age, to become more active, and as a result, I'm delighted to say that we have seen an increase of 10,000 in the number of visits to our leisure centres. As an organisation, we remain alert to the fact that we can always improve and, where necessary, do things differently. And that will always remain central to our approach. However, although only a brief overview of the headline messages, this report shows we continue to make real positive differences against our priorities, and especially to the lives of our residents and businesses of our borough. Can I recommend to the Cabinet that the end of year performance against the Council's priorities be considered and noted?
Thank you, Ray. That's seconded. Thank you very much. Any comments or questions on this one, Andrew? No? I think it's an incredibly important report. It obviously it deals with nearly everything that we do as a council. So it's really wide ranging. But I think that things like the leisure centre visits are just absolutely fantastic. And at a time when austerity is really biting, the fact that we are improving services and improving aims is really positive. Right, all those in favour of those recommendations, then please. Thank you, John, for your work. Okay, then we'll move on to the next item, which is in respect of outside bodies. Right.
Okay, I'm just going to move the recommendations, if that's okay with Cabinet. So the recommendations are the nominations to represent the Council on outside bodies as set out in Appendix 1 of the report be considered and representation approved, subject to the removal of the Madeley Regeneration Partnership, which has been dissolved. And 2.2, that Councillor Carter, Cabinet Member for Finance, Commercial Services and Economic Development, be appointed as the Council's representative on the March's European Structural and Investment Funds Committee for 2018 municipal year.
Thank you very much. Is that seconded? Okay.
Can I just make one point of clarification? The South Staffordshire and Shropshire Mental Health NHS Foundation Trust is now the Midlands Partnerships Foundation Trust.
Yes, formally known as.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
So subject to those two amendments.
We'll make that amendment again.
You might like to check SACRA as well. I picked up some comments that perhaps was no longer function. We didn't have any representatives on that anymore. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know.
It has been functioning. I have attended, Andrew, but you're right. Longer term, it may cease.
Right.
Yes, we've met with the group, haven't we? Yeah. Right. That's what proposed and seconded. All those in favour. That's everybody. Thank you very much. I call the meeting to an end.